Everything you're going through is God preparing you for what you asked for. If it's a man, the lack of man is preparing you for one. I'll tell you a true story, man. I knew this girl who was a friend of mine. She was dating this married guy. I said, how can you possibly think God is going to send you the right guy while you dating this married dude? How you think this worked? But they went to the same restaurant, had the same booth for 2 years. They met every week. It's kind of like, remember Billy Paul's old song, Me and Mrs. Jones. We meet every day at the same cafe, 6:30, because I know she'll be there. That was a song. Well, this woman dated this man for 2 years. They went to the same restaurant. He knew the maitre d'. The maitre d' kept the table for him. The maitre d' watched this go on for 2 years. He kind of knew the guy. He wasn't cool, just gave him the right table. 2 years. Just kept on dating this dude. She asked me, she said, Steve, why are you saying God won't send me Mr. Right? I said, well, I'm going to tell you something my mother taught me. I got this little job, right? And I used to come in the house. Every time I got paid, I was saving a little bit so I could get me a new car. And I would tell my mother, who was a Sunday school teacher, I would say, hey, mama, I'm going to give me a new car. She said, yeah, I know, boy, but your old car is out in the backyard up on the blocks. I had this old car that's set up on these cylinder blocks in the driveway in the backyard. And leaves had got up under it and paper cups and oil stains where I tried fixing. I just never could get it to working. I used to try to work on cars and stuff, but it just wasn't. It was just an old car. So I get paid again. I said, Mama, I'm going to get me a new car. She said, I know, boy, but your old car outside on blocks. I don't understand this shit. What does she keep talking about this old car for? I'm coming in here trying to be positive because I had read this book called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, and think positive. So one day, about 6 times, I came in and I said, Mama, I'm going to give me a new car, I'm telling you. She said, I know, baby, but your old car outside on the blocks. So I knew my mama was trying to teach me something because that's how they ever did me. Because that's how I do my sons. They made me a thinking man. They would never tell me nothing direct. They would just throw it out there. So I said, Mama, how come every time I get paid, I try to come in here and say something positive to you about me getting a new car, and you keep telling me about my old car out on the blocks? She said, son, you ain't got nowhere to put no new car. I called a friend of mine up. He had a tow service. I said, man, $20, I need some help. He came and towed the car away from me. I took all them cylinder blocks down, took all that trash that had gathered up on it, bundled it up, went down to Giant Tiger and bought some little asphalt cleaner and put it down and scrubbed that oil up, made that driveway look new. All of a sudden, the driveway looked new. It was a lot of space in the yard and everything. 2 weeks later, I got a new car. It wasn't new, it was used, but I bought a car. And I pulled it up in the driveway. I said, Mama, look at that, I got the car. She said, because you got somewhere to put it. She said, son, you can't ask God for something and then don't make ready to receive it. So I told that to this girl. She started crying. She said, oh my God. She said, I ain't ready to receive it. I said, no. You can ask him for it, but until you're ready to receive it, why would he give it to you? Because you ain't going to do nothing but mess it up. She stopped seeing the married guy. So she stopped going to the restaurant. One day, the maitre d' sees her out somewhere. He approached the girl and said, I haven't seen you in a while. She said, yeah, I broke up with my friend. He said, wow, I've been waiting. She said, excuse me? He said, I've been waiting. He said, I've been watching you come here for 2 years. The most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I could not understand why you was with this guy. 1.5 years later, them two people got married. Them two people have 2 kids now. He ain't the maitre d' of the restaurant no more. He bought the restaurant. because the girl was a financial chick at a bank, so she was the missing piece for him. So instead of being the maitre d', he bought the restaurant. They now own 3 restaurants. This dude making almost $2 million a year off of 3 restaurants. They living their life. You know why? Because she took the old car down off the blocks. So ladies, I ain't saying this about you, but maybe you got an old car in your driveway up on blocks. You really want a new car, but maybe it ain't nowhere for the new car to come. Could it be? Maybe God waiting on you to get the old car towed out so you can clean up your yard and you can park a new car there. Could that be the situation with your relationship, or could it be with anything else you want? If I was you, I'd try that. I hope y'all had a good time. Thank y'all for coming. Last year I spoke at the SALT Convention. The SALT Convention is where billionaires from around the world gather. They gather in Vegas once a year to talk about how they're going to change the world. There's a couple hundred billionaires in this world. They all come to Las Vegas once a year at the SALT Convention. I was asked last year to be the keynote speaker. And I'm tripping because I'm not a billionaire. And I asked a guy who asked me to do it, I said, I'm not a billionaire, you do understand that. We said, Mr. Harvey, we know everything about you. We know your net worth and everything. I said, well, what can you all learn from me? He said, everything. He said, the reason we want to hear your story is because the majority of us that are billionaires, we inherited some money and we grew it. A couple of us inherited $1 billion, some of us inherited 300 million and we turned it into $1 billion. You come from nothing. What we want to know is how you got to where you are after coming from nothing. How did you live in a car for 3 years and wind up on more TV shows than anybody? How did you survive flunking out of school? How did you survive all of that? We want to know that, because in case something happens to us, we don't really have the information that you have, or how to come from the back to the front, or how to come from the bottom to the top. So I get asked oftentimes to speak. What I told them was really compelling, because they almost had to never hear it, because they never had to learn it. See, if you've never been in the bottom, there's some stuff you ain't never had to know. But all of you that have been in the bottom, you know it oh too well, don't you? And so when I was telling them how I made it, I was telling them about the fortitude that I developed. And then I told them about the faith that I had. And that was really startling to them. Now, a lot of them are people of faith, but a lot of people who were born with a lot of money ain't really had to have a lot of faith. You understand? You have an idea of what it feels like. You've seen some kids get put in foster care. You've seen Child Protective Services come to somebody's house. You've seen kids come to school with less. You might have been one of the kids that went to school with less. You have struggled to give your kids a better life than the one you had. They don't hear this. But I'm going to tell you something right now. You can be successful without an education. You can be successful without coming from a rich family. You can be successful. I don't care what color you are, what faith you belong to, your sexual preference. I don't care what's wrong with you. You can be successful. I'm going to tell you flat out, you have got to tie your existence to your creator. If you don't tie who you are to God, I got news for you. You're going to forever struggle. Now, this is what I'm telling you is something you can do today. You ain't got to go to school to get this one. You ain't got to have no meeting with nobody. I'm telling you that if you solidify a relationship with God, you ain't got to ask nobody's permission. You ain't got to check in. He ain't got no line. You can go and form this relationship today, this evening, when you get home. Listen, man, you can shortcut this. I ain't got no education. I flunked out of school. I'm on my third marriage. I lost everything I ever owned twice. I had a severe stuttering problem growing up. I've been picked and teased my whole life. I've been homeless and lived in a car for 3 years. What you finna tell me that I don't know about him? I will tell you what God can do. He can do anything. God can pick you up when you're at your lowest moment. God can take your existence and turn it around. Now listen to me, I ain't no preacher. I'm a street cat. You understand? I'm not a good Christian. I'm a Christian, you know. But I'm at best, I'm an entry-level Christian. I don't do advanced Christianity. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably like a 2. But I got news for you. That's all you got to be. Because you know why? Because there's none perfect, no, not one. There are no perfect people. Let me teach you something. How many of you have a dog? How many of you have ever had a dog that had a flea on him? That's everybody. You ever seen a flea? One of the smallest insects. Really small, one of the smallest insects. But for his height and size, and flea has the highest vertical leap in nature for an insect. A flea can jump, has a 36-inch vertical. A flea, man, can come 36 inches off the ground. His vertical is 36. The average person can't do that. But a flea can jump 36 inches off the ground. If you capture the flea and you put him in a mayonnaise jar and you put the lid on it, the flea know one thing. I got a 36-inch vertical. So here he go. He start jumping. But he gonna hit himself on that lid because he got that lid on it. But after a while, after getting knocked down so many times, the flea makes an adjustment. So now the flea only jumps just to where he don't get knocked back down. He got 36 vertical, but since this lid is on, his environment got him now jumping nowhere near what he can. Capture some more fleas and put them in there. They got 36 verticals, but then they start jumping. They find out they keep getting knocked down. They start doing what the other fleas is doing. Next thing you know, I got a jar full of fleas in there, ain't even using a 36-inch vertical because they got a lid on the jar. Them fleas have babies. Them babies is born into the conditions of the environment. So now guess what? The flea is born with a 36-inch vertical, but because he see his mama and daddy and all his cousins and friends jumping just barely to the roof, you know what he do? He duplicates that behavior. The flea never reaches his potential. Until you take the top off of your mayonnaise jar, you're gonna duplicate your surroundings. If you take an oak tree seed and you put it in a 2-foot pot, that seed will never become the oak tree that oak trees are capable of becoming because it's gonna get stifled by the 2-foot pot. Now check this out, ain't nothing wrong with the seed. The seed just fell prey to the environment. You are a seed from God. God made you in his likeness. He big, he vast. Don't you allow your environment to dictate the oak tree that you become. Because ain't nothing wrong with your seed. All of y'all got this wonderful gift that he gave you at birth. All y'all got one, you better believe that now. Don't die with this gift and don't never use it. All of y'all got this wonderful gift, but you gotta use it. Take your seed, take your gift. Get away from these people that's in your life that ain't doing nothing. Get away from people in your life that's hating. Get away from your family members that ain't ever opened a business. Get away from your family members that ain't ever followed their dream. Get away from your family members ain't never been nowhere but to the family reunion. Ain't never been to a beach. Get away from them. Get away from them. I had to do it. When I told everybody I was getting into comedy, man, Oh, Lord have mercy. You can't get into comedy. You ain't even funny. How you gonna make money telling jokes? Now, in the beginning, it looked like they was right, but I never gave up. All I did was identify this gift. I worked. I wrote all of my visions down. I read them every morning and every night. I instilled them in my head. And every time I met somebody, they say, hey man, what you trying to do? I would tell them one of my visions. Somebody would always say to me, you know, I know a guy that's selling them things right there. You ought to talk to him. I started scratching stuff off my vision board. My vision board is so vast now, if I showed you what was on it, you wouldn't even believe it. Because I dream so big, I want so big, because the God I serve is big. He's not a small God. He's a really, really big God. He does really, really big stuff, and I expect him to do really, really big stuff for me. If he'd have done it for Oprah, if he'd have done it for the Obamas, whoever why I can't have this here? I'm gonna do better with it than all of them, to me, but why you can't have that? That's how you get what you want in life now. You don't have to believe me, but here's the deal. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're gonna keep getting what you've been getting. If I just told you a different way to go about it, you don't need no money. I just gave you some scriptures you could try and some principles. If somebody who had come from the bottom and got to this position I'm in told me that this is the way I would try it, if I was you, I would try that. I bet you it'll work though. Appreciate y'all. I take all my moments in life, good and bad, and I use them as teaching moments, because that's exactly what they all are. If you get really smart, everything that happens to you, you should make a note of it, because everything happens to you for a specific reason. There are no just haps in life. Every dark moment that you've ever had is preparing you for someplace God is taking you. That way you can start feeling a little bit better. Somebody taught this to me a long time ago. He said, Steve, in order to get to the life of your dreams, you're gonna have to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. When you hear people say all the time, I don't want to do nothing that I'm not comfortable with, this person's in trouble. Because whatever your comfort zone is, if you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you'll fail. If your comfort zone is this big and you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you'll fail. In order to succeed in life, you have to step outside of your comfort zone. But I want to tell you something about yourself. All of you are equipped to live outside of your comfort zone. God has proven it to you your entire life. I'm going to show you something that he's done for you that you haven't really paid a lot of attention to. See, a lot of people are afraid to jump. A lot of people are afraid to take chances. A lot of people are afraid to put things up for risk. And you shouldn't be. Now, you can be afraid, but you should learn how to go ahead anyhow. See, because let me show you something about yourself. For all the bad days you've ever had, for every day that you thought you wasn't going to get through, for every period in your life you did not see no way you could come out on the other side, your track record for surviving them bad days is 100%. You have survived every single one of them. Your track record for surviving bad days, y'all, is 100%. And that's pretty good. You can't name one bad day you ain't got through. When you lost your mother and you felt like your whole world was crumbling, because I thought I was going to die, man. When my mama left here, boy, let me tell you, that's the worst I've ever felt in my life to date. I'm 62 years old. But the day they told me my mama was gone, when I had to pull the plug on that machine, and I had to tell that to the doctor, it was the worst period of my life. I thought I was going to die. I survived it. I want you to think about all them bad moments you had that looked like you wasn't going to make it. And then I want you to ask yourself, well, why did I make it? Well, it's real simple now. It's simply because God ain't through with you yet. Everything you're going through is God preparing you for what he has for you.